Not too long ago I made a video which I called the redneck rendition of Jordan Peterson's rule number 1. And in that I tried to explain to you Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson's written a book called The 12 Rules for Life. And 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos. And I want to recommend that to you as something that you should buy and read and keep handy and refer to often. And then I'm going to renege on the suggestion that I made where I was going to go through those 12 rules, make videos of them, because he is difficult to read and he is so learned and so educated and so such a deep thinker, and he has so much stored away in his head that he can bring to a conversation that it goes over my head, and consequently maybe some of the people listening to my videos, it's a little bit too deep or too much for them. So what I'd said I was going to do was translate it for you into something a redneck can understand. And I made an attempt at that with rule number 1, and I didn't even come close to giving you all the meat that's in his book for you about rule number 1. And so I consider that first attempt I made a dismal failure. And not only do I consider it a dismal failure, it's opened my eyes to the fact that I can't begin to do what I said I was going to do, because this is something that just can't be dumbed down. You gotta read it for yourself so that you can grasp all of it that you can grasp. And if some of it's more than you can deal with, so be it. A lot of it's more than I could deal with, to the point where any attempt that I make to try to explain to you what it says to me is inadequate. So I'm going to talk about his book, and I'm going to talk about his rules, and I'm not going to talk about them one at a time. I may lump some of them together. I'm going to try today to talk about, I don't even know what rule it is. I think maybe it's number 8. Let me look. Yeah, it's number 8. Tell the truth, or at least don't lie. And he deals with all aspects of that, things that you wouldn't even think about telling the truth, and about things that we do to rationalize or even to lie to ourselves or omit things or alter things that we think we're still dealing with truth, but for some reason or another we have distorted it to where it's not truth, and causes us to go down a path that's not favorable for what's good for us. And I can't even begin to get to the things as deeply as he does. So I repeat again, read his book. Get what you can from it. I can't do it justice. But today I am going to talk about truth, and I'm not going to talk about it so much as I'm going to share some things with you that I've already said, because truth is important to me too. And the very first thing I'm going to share with you is a clip from a video that I've already made. And I think the name of that video was Truth or Consequences. And what I'm going to tell you about that is I can't begin to cover this in the depth that Jordan Peterson does, Dr. Jordan Peterson, and I can't even begin to cover all the things that I want to about it. And I'm not going to share everything I said about truth or consequence in the video, Truth or Consequences. But what I want you to see from this little clip is that the truth was ingrained by my parents in me to be something that's important and something that they wanted from me and something they wanted to teach me. And Betty, my beloved wife of 57 years, she and I came to a place in our relationship, in our marriage, where we realized the value of it in our family. And we insisted on having the truth in our family between us and our children. In my family, the truth is paramount. One of the most important things. And when I say my family, I'm talking about me and my wife and our children. That's where it begins, and hopefully it continues and extends into our family, beyond that with grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and beyond that with children that aren't even born yet. That truth can be that important to them. To Betty, my wife of 56 years, and I, truth is this important. We wanted to deal with it. In our dealings with our children, we knew that if we couldn't have truth, we couldn't have much that was of any value. Because you can't make good decisions without truth. So we taught our children that they must tell the truth. We're going to tell you the truth, was our message to our children. And when we ask you for the truth, we expect it from you 100% of the time. We didn't always get that. You know how kids are. Not just the world's kids, even my kids. They, from time to time, thought they could get away with something and not tell the truth. They thought if they told us something that wasn't true, they felt like that the truth was never going to come out because there was no proof one way or the other. It was their word against their sister's word, or their word against their friend's word, or their word against their cousin's word. And in a one-on-one situation with no other evidence, there wasn't any way to prove what was true and what was not true. Now, Mom and Dad might have an idea of what was true, but sometimes Mom and Dad didn't even have an idea of what was true. They had no basis for believing this kid or this kid. Here is what we did, and it was controversial in our family. Our children, and in fact our friends, and everybody else thought how unfair that is. When we had an offense that required action, and by action I mean some sort of correction or some sort of discipline or some sort of something had to happen because rules had been violated or broken, that was something that wasn't going to happen in our family. Couldn't happen. When we had a situation like that and we couldn't arrive at the truth, who do we
discipline, then everyone involved got disciplined. You heard me. If we didn't know who the guilty party was, they all got disciplined. And a lot of you are thinking exactly what come out of our children's mouth every time that happened. That's not fair! That's not fair! Guess what? It wasn't fair. But fair was impossible because somebody was lying to me. Or somebody was lying to my wife. Or us. And so fair went out the window. And there's another life lesson, and I told my children this every time. If you think that life is fair, you need to get over that. Because life is not fair. And there's going to be plenty of situations in your life where you have to deal with not fair. So this will just be good practice for you. And they didn't like that either. But the whole point of this story, of me telling you this, what I'm telling you today, is this. The truth is important. We have nothing without it. And in my wife's and my decision to demonstrate to those people that we loved how important the truth was, we did not reward someone not telling the truth. If you got something from that, then I encourage you to go back and find that video. I think it's back there about the 40th or 41st video that I released. And go back and find that. Truth or consequences. Watch the whole thing. Maybe you'll get some more that you didn't get in that little preview. I'm going to go now to another video that I made shortly after that one. And it's called The Cold, Hard, Elusive Truth. And in it talks about how difficult it is to get truth nowadays, and how even more difficult it's going to be in the future to get truth, because the truth is hard to come by, and it's not like it was in times past. And the truth is going to be, I think, more and more difficult to get at. Because most of us get our information today from our cell phone or from our computer. And some of us from cable TV news. And let me tell you something. You cannot get the truth there without really wanting it, without really getting after it, without digging. So, without saying any more, I'm going to show you a piece of that video that I made. The Cold, Hard, Elusive Truth. But truth is something that in life is so important that I don't know what I could put ahead of it as far as what a person needs to make good decisions. And making good decisions is what life is all about. If you make good decisions the greater percentage of the time throughout your life, then you're going to have a good life. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you came from. I don't care what your daddy's name was. I don't care how much money you have. None of that matters. If you're a young person with your life ahead of you, if you start right now making the best decision you can about everything pertinent to your life and the success of it, and you do that the greater percentage of the time, you're going to create for yourself a good and worthwhile life. Now, I'm looking at the result of a bad decision. It wasn't really a decision. It was like I went to the house for something and got sidetracked and did a couple other things and came back and I got my sunglasses on. Don't need those, so let's take them off. Where do we find truth is the question I want to pose to you. Then I want to regress and tell you that when I was young, my parents impressed on me that same value that I have now, and then try to impress on those younger than me of how important truth was. And if I wanted to create trouble for myself when I was young, it was lie to my parents about something and get caught in it. Whew, I had no fun. They felt the same way that I do about it now. They didn't want no part of that. No lying to them from their children. But it was a whole lot easier then to know what the truth was. Let me start first of all by saying I was 9 or 10 years old before we ever had a television. Now, I watched some television. We had a next door neighbor had a television long before we did, and the lady would have me over, and I was introduced to the Mickey Mouse Club. I fell in love with Annette Funicello. I was introduced to the Little Rascals and watched those episodes on the TV that the next door neighbor had. But didn't have a television in our house till, I'm guessing I was right around 9 or 10. And even then, I didn't look at the television as a source of truth for me. I got my information from my parents and from my church and from my school teachers. That's who I learned from. And when they told me something, I had no reason to doubt that it was true. And as I began to learn how to read and other things, when I read something in a book, an encyclopedia, a history book, a school book, when I read it in a book, I accepted it as true. And generally, it was true. And then later, as I got older and started paying attention to the 5 o'clock news or the 6 o'clock news. You know, I think back in the old days, they had the local news on at 5 o'clock for whatever city that channel was in, and then the 6 o'clock news was the national news. And you had some person there, depending on which network you watched, who was the world's purveyor of truth. So if you saw it on the news, it was true. In fact, those top news people, and their goal was this, they wanted to have the scoop. In other words, they wanted their network or their news program to be the first ones on the air with the big story. And if they could accomplish that, wow, that's just the best thing that could happen to them. The worst thing that could happen to them was for them to go on the air with a story whether it was first, second, or third, whatever, however they got on the air, but let's say it looked like a scoop. They were the first ones out with it. The very worst thing that could happen to them, in fact, it could destroy their career if it happened in a big way or very often. The very worst thing that could happen to them was for them to sit behind their desk as the news anchor for the evening news and tell you something that was not true. And it didn't even have to be a blatant lie. It could be an honest little mistake that made what they just told you inaccurate. They weren't lying to you. They thought they were telling you the truth, but they got it wrong. That was the worst thing that could happen to a news person when I was young. And so they went to great lengths to see to it that that didn't happen to them, because it could destroy their career. They had a whole staff of people. Anytime they had news to report, they had people going everywhere, doing everything, checking everything possible to make sure that what they told you was the truth. Yeah, boy, that's nothing like it is today. I mean, I don't care who you are, what your politics are, what news channels you prefer to watch or don't prefer to watch. I think you can, unless you're, forget that. I think you can, no matter who you are or what you are or how knowledgeable you are or how ignorant you are about what's going on, you can say, wow, wouldn't that be good? Because it ain't like that today. They're going to tell you whatever they choose to tell you to support whatever their agenda is. And they being all those news organizations that are out there. You can't single one out and say that their pursuit is the truth like it was in 1955 or 1960 or 1965 probably. I don't know, I really don't know when it changed, but it did. Because the truth is elusive now, and it's hard to figure out. But it's still important. We can't make good decisions without it, so you have to get in there and dig for it yourself. You have to look at all of it and investigate and back check and go beyond the obvious to find out who's telling you the truth. Because you need the truth. Today, there's a lot of things going on in the world. And there's so many things, I mean major things going on right now. I don't know where to begin to continue this discussion. And I don't know whether I even want to continue this discussion. I think probably if I have somehow given you a desire, a thirst, a longing for truth to the point that you will pursue it yourself however you do that, I think if I've done that, I've done more than I could ever imagine I might do. And if I thought I could accomplish that without saying another word, I'd just quit now. Because if you did that, you wouldn't need any of the other things that I'm about to say. Let me go back in time again. And what is it when we go back in time? We're looking at what? We're looking at history. And what is history? It's a question. Think about it. What is history? And I'm going to tell you what it is. You can agree with me or disagree with me. I urge you not to, if you disagree, I urge you not to disagree and discount everything I say. I urge you to pursue the truth in what I'm saying. Dig and find out if what I'm saying has merit, value. History is simply this. History is the record of something in the past, something that has already happened. History is the record of that. And let me add to that. History is the accurate, the true, the truth about an event at a place at a time in the past. That's what history is. And if it doesn't meet those requirements, an event in the past at a place and accurate and true, then it's not history. When you think about how hard it is today to find out what the truth is, think about how hard it's going to be 25 years from now to find out what the truth was today for those people. My God. Some of this stuff they'll never figure it out because everywhere they look will tell them a different story. Put a different slant on it. I intended to go on about social media and how social media contributes to total annihilation of the truth, and how cable television has contributed to total annihilation of the truth, and how journalism has disintegrated from the passionate pursuit of truth that it was when I was a child to what it is today. But it's just bigger than me. I'm going to have to think about it for a few more days and try to narrow my passions and channel back down into just like one thing. I'm going to go back 5 minutes ago and repeat what I just said. If all I've done, and I say all I've done as if that's nothing, and it isn't, if I have managed to accomplish this phenomenal feat of making you hungry for truth, not opinion that agrees with yours, but truth. If you're hungry for that, from what I've said, then praise God, I said something that mattered one time. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this. Again, if you watch that little piece of video I just showed you, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, I'm not sure, and it spoke to you in some way, or you got something from that, or it piqued an interest in you. Hopefully it gave you a desire to find truth in your life. If it did that, go back and find that video. It's, I don't know, 44, 45, one of those. About halfway through the list of my videos. The Cold Hard Elusive Truth. Go find that thing and watch the whole video. I'm going to close this video out with a piece of another video. And this piece of video I have shared in more than one video. I've got about probably, I know I got two and I maybe have three, and this might be the fourth one, where I clipped something out of a video. I think the name of the video was Great Social and Political Importance. Or Great Social and Political Import. I got that title from a Janis Joplin song. I think the name of that song was Lord, Won't You Buy Me a Mercedes-Benz, and that's part of one of the lines in that song. But I've taken a part of that video that I've also taken and put in other videos because it says something about how I approach life, how I think you should approach life, and I want you to take that instruction and that passion and apply it to your pursuit of truth. Without wasting any more time, let me go on. This next thing I'm going to say is where the controversy is probably going to begin. It says life is full of choices. And then I go on to say our place in life is pretty much a result of the choices we have made. And that's where it gets kind of sticky with some people. I don't know whether to talk about the stickiness first or to talk about the people I'm giving this advice to first. I think I'll talk about the stickiness first. Some people want to believe that something that happened 200 years ago has a direct effect on the life that they're living today. Or something that's in their genetic makeup presents them with either opportunity or insurmountable difficulty that makes it impossible for them to fail or impossible for them to succeed. And some factions of people make a concerted effort to tell everybody that BS and sell it as truth. And I'm here to say it's a lie. That is not true. You have more to do with what kind of life you live, what kind of things are available to you, what kind of success or failure that you have. You have more to do about that and say about that and have an effect on that by the choices you make than any of that other crap that people try to tell you. But what I'm saying to you are the things that I say to people that I care about, the people I love, my family, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and my friends. They're the people that I talk like this to. I'm not trying to change who they vote for. I'm not trying to make money or profit or gain power or anything like that from these people. I'm trying to tell them the way it is the best that I know it and understand it from my life's experience so that they can deal with life. Because I love them. I care about them. I want them to have a good life. I want them to be happy. I want them to be successful. That's why I tell them these things. So if you're hearing them, you're not hearing something that I'm trying to get you to agree with me on. You're hearing what I tell people I love. I want them to place a high value on attributes like honesty, loyalty, and moral character. Get this next part, because this is the sentence that sums it all up between me and them. And them are, again, those people that I care the most about. This is what I say. And this, I'm going to say in a sentence, this is my life's philosophy. I want them to approach life like it's a great competition whose outcome means something. I said in a sentence, but it's going to be more than one sentence because that's the end of that sentence. But I'm going to stop there at the end of that sentence and tell you there's a couple more sentences coming. Approach life like it is a great competition whose outcome means something. In other words, live your life, make your choices, let your actions be controlled by this mindset. Life is a great competition and the outcome of it means something. It's not something meaningless. It's not an exercise. It's not a show up and get your trophy. Approach it like you would a competition and go at it like it means something, like it matters whether you win or lose, like it matters whether you succeed or fail. That's what I'll tell people that I love. That's what I want them to do. I go on. I want them to play hard, work diligently, and love unconditionally. I've always been someone who enjoyed games, and I've always been someone who enjoyed winning games. And it doesn't matter what the game is. Checkers, basketball, tic-tac-toe. It doesn't matter. I wanted to know how to play, what the best strategy was, what the disciplines you had to learn to be successful at it, and then I played it as hard as I could, and I always tried to win. And if you don't believe that, go find some of my adult grandchildren and ask them about when they were growing up, did Grandpa ever let them win? I wanted them to win. I wanted nothing would make me happier than for them to win, for them to beat me. But for it to mean anything, they had to beat me. I couldn't let them win. I want them to understand that it takes work and perseverance and discipline to win. So, play hard. Work diligently. That means put your best into it. Be determined. Be like a bulldog. Get in there and get hold of it and don't let go of it. Keep giving it your best. When you get done, if you don't get the outcome you want, I don't want you to have to look back and say, I didn't give that my best. That's what I tell people I love. I tell them it's worth the effort and the work that you put in it. And you need to know that you're doing that every day, all the time. And the last thing I say is love unconditionally. And you say, what the heck is that? Love unconditionally. First thing I'm going to say about that is we choose to love. Remember when this all started, talking about choices and life being a series of choices and the choices we make? I'm telling you something. This is important for you to understand. We choose to love. People think they fall in love. They don't fall in love. People fall in a vat of chocolate, or people fall into other pleasant or unpleasant things. Nobody falls in love. They make a conscious choice to love somebody or something, and then they work at it diligently. If they don't, it don't happen. There's too many things in life that come along to upset things, to mess everything up, to divide and confuse, and too much like that in life and in the places we go and the things that we do for you to think that love is an accident. Love isn't an accident. We choose to love, and then we act like it, and we work at it, and we sacrifice for it, and we give when everybody else wants to take. That's what love is about. Till you understand that, you can't understand love unconditionally. Because unconditionally means no matter what. And that's what happens to a lot of love that people think they fell into. The no matter what's come. It's something they wasn't expecting. Something that they didn't think was part of the program. Something that they didn't know about. And then it's like, well, I don't love that anymore, or I don't love them anymore. She killed all the love I had for her. That's not how unconditional love works. You're saying, hard times guy, you kind of got off of your normal schedule again today, and yeah, I did.
Dr. Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. It's a great read. Might be a little difficult, 400 and some pages of small print, but worth your while. Get this book, read it, keep it as a reference book. He has a whole lot to say about truth, and I hope today I've piqued your interest in his work and in your finding truth for yourself in your life. I'm a hard times guy. Have a good day.